Well, we're obsessed by the weather, us British gardeners, and today's no different. I don't know, it's sort of raining and, well, there's some blue sky, but I know this afternoon I've got a load of rain coming. So I've got some polytunnel things to do, but I know that if it pours down, that's where I'm heading. So I'm going to try and keep outside while it's, well, at least not raining. Okay, so quick look round. We've got some fairly well developed Globo onions going down here. Fantastic. We've got the good old mare's tail. People have been asking me whether I have a fix for mare's tail. I honestly don't. It's a real challenge. And I know the consensus is just keep weeding it and eventually you win through. But that hasn't happened for me. And I've been weeding it for a good few years. So I don't know. I think you just have to live with it. It's the only way to be in this area anyway. So I did plant my swedes a bit close together, and I had good reason for that because I wanted them to be fairly small, and I think that's what's going to happen. And certainly the excellent foliage growth down here is suggesting that they are a bit close, but we'll see. If we get lots of medium-sized swede, that'll be good. And these are, gotta think, I'm going to say Elsa Craig. And yeah, they've really come along. And true to form, there's some mare's tail in there. I'm going to leave it for a little bit longer, but hopefully it will not inhibit those onions. It seems to be away from the stems anyway.
What a beautiful sight. That pond is absolutely teeming with newts, some of them heavily pregnant. There's a right old population going down in there.
Brassicas, not been in that long, but they seem to be stood up and doing okay. Same in here. And these, which I put in first, they're really romping away. Typically we've still got a little bit of the old bindweed in here, and we've got a little bit of, well, leaf damage, and I can see the perpetrators of the crime. I'm going to get in there and get that one. Oh, there's more than one, look. Little blighters. I'll get this one as well. I'm okay handling slugs. I've been doing it for so long that I don't actually worry about it, but I know some people don't like it. And the attaché at the back are gradually being eaten. I think that's a bit of the challenge with these. They're supposed to inhibit the growth of bindweed, and to be fair, well, there is a little bit in there, but they do have a bit of a problem surviving, and that's testament to that because there's none left in that one. And this is sprouts, and this sprout has been absolutely devastated, so I will be putting another one in there, and I think I'm going to need to put some eggshell or something down for these just to keep them going. But the other four there seem to be okay. It's obviously being attacked from the rear. Oh, broad beans looking fantastic, and they were my saved seed. And if you want to compare them with non-saved seed, that's the non-saved seed ones, and I'd say no difference whatsoever. So if you're thinking of saving seed for broad bean, seems like an easy win. The garlic in the experimental bed, thanks to everyone who commented. Well, it's looking like it's suffering from rust in quite a big way now. You can see these orange markings on the leaves, and it's not going to do it too much harm. but it does mean that I need to be thinking about getting them out fairly quickly. And my leeks have all stood up nicely. I noticed the other day I missed one. See, there's a problem. That hole there, something's happened. So I did have one or two spare ones. I might have to end up putting one in there. I put a little group of them down here. Most of them survived, but there are a couple that have. So I might end up sticking one of those in. Everything else in there seems to be okay. I think we've got another problem one there. But once they get cracking, they're okay. And to be honest, it's enough leeks for us, so not too worried. Oh, run of beans. Slugs. Look at that, absolutely stripped on these edges. Where it's near the grass, it's a real problem. And then as you get further in, you can see that they're not really concerned about the slugs because they're growing up that much quicker. And we've got some that are wrapping around here now. I haven't had to tie any of these in. They do seem to be working themselves out without too many problems. And where they have laid down, I've tried my best just to sort of give them a bit. It's anti-clockwise, I think. That one don't want to stand up. Look, I'm going to try and move him round, see if he'll go the other way. We'll see. So yeah, a couple of problem ones there, and I did keep just a couple, so I might end up popping one or two in there. So things are going well in the growing department. This was the Bedfordshire Champions I put in. They seem to be coming on nicely. That bed looking like it's going to need to be weeded very soon. Just amazing, that proliferation of weeds just on a constant basis, but nothing that a hoe won't sort out with a little bit of care. And this is the shallots. No, it's not the shallots. I ended up having to put them over there, so I think they're shallots. We'll see. It'll work out anyway. I'll have to go back to the video. That's why I do it. Okay, down on these garlics in these pots, I'm staggered how well these have done. It's like being in the shade, or it might even be this particular variety, but it certainly seems to be doing really well. Potatoes are doing well. Even that one that was very slow has shot some leaves up and got some green on them. And this bed's got to be done soon. I'm going to put sprouts in there. All right, girls, it's time to come out. Gives me a chance to show you what my plums are looking like, if you'll excuse the expression. Here we go. Look at these. Just look at those. Fantastic. I've been trying to grow plums for so long now, and this year this tree has met maturity and it's doing well. So I'm really looking forward to those. That's a Victoria plum, and any fallers will be consumed, I'm sure, by the hens. Well, these two girls are getting noisy because they want to get out. So we'll just let them out. Come on, this way. There we go. They do like to get out into that bit of rough ground out there. I thought that they would consume all that grass, but no. They spend most of their time underneath the jostaberries, which is shady, and I guess they feel safe. Are there any jostaberries? We seem to struggle with the jostaberries the last 2 years. I can't actually see any berries on there, and I don't know whether they're being eaten or it's just not happening, but it doesn't look like we're going to have many. I can see just a couple there, and maybe there's a few to come through, but it's certainly not as prolific as it was in the first season. And we've got quite a lot of stinging nettles in here as well, so I might have to get clearing that out soon. Okay, it's time to share my disaster. And I was told there were a lot of subscribers that, you know, in their comments sort of urged a bit of doubt. Seemed to think that it might not work out as I thought. Let me show you. So I'm not keen on these nets, and you probably will have seen that it's my intention to build a cage for the gooseberries, and I had all this roof baton, which is going to be ideal for making that cage, but I held off because I wanted to be sure it was the right thing to do. Now, netting gooseberries, there is literature that says not a problem. Gooseberries will self-pollinate and you're good to go. But a lot of people indicated that that might not be as successful as allowing nature to take its course. And I've got to say it wasn't. But what was also unsuccessful was the net. So I'm going to take this off and show you. Right, I'm going to move this baton, which I put here just to see whether they were long enough, because I got a feeling I'm not going to be using them. Right, let's get some of these stones off and then I can show you what's going on. So the principle here was that if I had nets on, I would keep the dreaded sawfly away from the gooseberries, because last year, well, they stripped the bushes, and I thought if I could just keep them away, then that would be a good thing to do, and the plants would be healthier and the fruit would be more prolific. Let's pull this back over and see what we got. Right, there we are. Absolutely minced. Disaster, disaster, disaster. Every single bush stripped completely by sawfly. So I know it wasn't foolproof. There were gaps at the base. I don't know what the life cycle of the sawfly is. I need to look, because it may well be that this intensity of sawfly damage means that in some way they're perhaps in the ground, or they've got to live somewhere. But whatever, it's absolutely minced them. Now that net over there has not resulted in so much of a problem, but I have got a patch just in there. But I've come to the decision that this isn't going to work. It isn't going to work from the point of view of pollination. We've only got a few fruits on these bushes, and I've got a bush over there that's not covered, which has got a whole load of gooseberries on it. Now, I'm very fortunate this year. I've got plenty of gooseberries left from last year in the freezer, so we're not going to be without, but it is such a shame. So I'm not going to be building a gooseberry cage, and when I'm going to get these nets out of the way, I'll show you those other bushes when I'm done. We've got some bindweed growing prolifically here, because of course you can't get at it so easily. And that's the other thing with nets, is you tend to get a bit lazy about maintenance because it's such a faff to take them off. So lots of lessons learned, and those people who thought this isn't going to work, you were right. There we go, you can see it now for all its glory. Decimated. Oh, what a shame. Oh, big thistle there to come out. And these, they're just sort of, well, this one's struggling. I can see it's got some sawfly in there. There's definitely some in here. And this bush that wasn't covered at all, a tiny bit at the base, but otherwise full of fruit. So it's official. Covering gooseberries, not a good idea unless you've got some knowledge that I don't have, but my real life practice of netting is not a success. But we learn. And that's the fun of gardening. Well, you may have noticed it started to rain, so come in and do a few of those polytunnel jobs. Although the minute I stepped in here, it brightened up. Anyway, let's show you what's happening. So tomatoes are really doing well. Very green, very lush. I'm glad that that compost has had nothing but a good impact on them. And they're starting to get a bit tall now. One or two are starting to lean over. So I'm beginning to think it's time to help them a bit with some stakes. And these in the bed, pretty similar. They're not leaning at the moment. And this one I've had to stake because it certainly was leaning. And this one I'm going to have to get staked up as well. So there's a bit of that to be done. We've got something going to seed there. I think it's rocket. Yeah, certainly is. And in terms of the seedlings, I've got a couple of sprouts I need to get back in that bed over there, so I'm glad I kept all those. And I'd love to put the squash out and the pumpkin, but do you know what? It's cold out there every night at the moment. 7 degrees last night. It's just not ideal. So I'm worried because there's a bit of yellowing of these going on. So I might have to feed those whilst I keep them for just a wee bit longer before putting them out. I'm hoping this week they'll go out though. Otherwise, everything's coming along, and my parsnips have reached that moment where I'm going to clip them out, as have the carrots. The carrots are all well on now, and I need to weed and thin, so I'll be doing that. Right, let's get cracking. First of all, I think I'll do a bit of staking. There we go, they're staked up now. And I've had quite a lot of comments about my tomatoes in terms of taking the shoots out, and I'll probably get more about having canes in them. And I'll share with you my reasoning, and everybody has a slightly different opinion on these things, and that's fine. I'm not saying this is the way to do it, it's just the way I do it. So these are all bush varieties, Lata, Roma. I think these are indeterminate, but they're certainly not going to get massive. So the general view is you don't need to take the side shoots out on bush tomatoes, and that's true. But I'm trying to think about keeping the leaves off of the compost, because that is a way that unfortunately blight can get into the plant. So, you know, typically these leaves down here that are lying on the compost could put the tomatoes at risk. So in the early stages of these bush tomatoes, if the shoots that look like they're going to result in a branch that's going to lay on the soil, then I tend to take it out. So there's one here, look. I can see that could be a problem, but we'll wait and see. Otherwise, things are going pretty well. And I've got plenty of trusses that are looking like they're going to form lots of fruit. I mean, this bush is just covered in it, which is fantastic. I'll show you my first fruits. Plants are super sweet cherry tomato, and they've probably been planted a little bit longer than mine because they were given to me. But you can see down here we've got some trusses of fruit, which is fantastic. And the general consensus are when you start to get small fruit like that, then you start to feed. So I don't know, I've got one truss that's got fruit on it, and as soon as I start to see some more, I'll end up starting the feeding regime. Okay, these canes, again, bush tomatoes sometimes don't need them, but I've always found that once the fruit starts getting predominant and the branches of the plant start to get laden, then that extra support is a real help. So I tend to stake them even though they're the bush varieties. Right, what's next? Let's have a look at those parsnip, see what I can clip. Right, here we go. I'm not going to lift those toilet rolls out. I'm just going to select which plant I want to keep,
and then clip the others. So this one's got, both have got 2 leaves on. This one's a bit taller, there's not much between them. I'm going to take this one out and clip it just below that sort of brown area that's starting to form. And that just leaves, well, actually leaves 2, so there's an easy pick there. That one, I'm just going to take out the poorly one. Same with this one. That leaves 1 in there. This one is not as well developed, so that's coming out. And this one's got 3 good plants in it, so there's not much between them, but they're coming out. Okay, it's no good thinking I've got a blank toilet roll here and therefore I am going to take one out and move it, because you just can't move them. It doesn't work. There's another one there. So this is really simple process. And of course, all this is in the interest of allowing the one dominant seedling to flourish, so that you get a stronger plant to plant into the bed. And it won't be too long before these go in. Once again, I need some good weather. It's not freezing cold at night. Well, it's not freezing here, but it's certainly colder than you would think in June. Right, I'll carry on with this, not bore you with my commentary, and we'll get down to 1 seed per station. Oh, pretty simple stuff, but now they will come on that much stronger, and it won't be too long before they're going out, but they're looking nice and healthy. And now into this little area. So same thing here really. I've got a bit of weeding to do, which I will get on with at the same time. But here we've got a cluster, and they're all fairly similar, to be fair. But I'm gonna just select one. We'll take that one out, and we'll take that one out. And to some extent, I'm looking for height of the plant, and I'm looking for thickness of the stem, because they're the early indicators. So I think we're going to just take this fella out, leaving just the one, and that's the plan all the way around. And obviously some of these are doing better than others, but they're all doing fairly well. And these stray ones like this will come out, because it's just taking precedence over the growth. That's the important thing. So we want all the focus just to be on one plant in each station. Right, let's get clipping and weeding. So there we are. It's a bit of a heart in the mouth moment when you're clipping those, because if you clip them all by mistake, you're done for. So that's about it. They're all single plants now, 1 in each station. I have got one there, which was right in the middle, and I thought I'd leave him. I suppose if something goes wrong, then I have got to back up. But they're looking well, and we've weeded and we'll need to weed again, but fingers crossed, they'll all do okay. Well, it's time to pick a few strawberries. So growing strawberries in hanging baskets, it's got its advantages and its disadvantages. I suppose the biggest advantage is that you don't get any slug damage or insect damage on the fruit, because they're hanging and nothing gets up there. At least I've not experienced anything getting up there. So that's the biggest benefit. I think strawberries always do better in the ground like most plants, but you have to weigh that up against damaged fruit. And of course, if you bed them with straw and take a great deal of care, I'm sure you can get a better crop than you get this way. But this is simple. It requires a very small amount of effort to get a good amount of fruit. So I'm gonna just pick the ripe fruit on these, and I'll show you what I get when I'm done. So there we are. We've had one picking out of these strawberry plants already, and there's 2 pretty big punnets full, and there's plenty more to develop. There was 1 or 2 that had actually rotted a little bit because they were laying on the compost, so the chickens will get a treat as well. Well, that's me done for today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, then why not like and subscribe? And if you want to get my updates every Wednesday 8 p.m. and every Sunday 8 p.m. I'll see you there. Good times.